It's the most powerful show on television. High drama with intense energy. A show dedicated to a few brave souls who risk their lives for the sake of their craft. Its in-depth reporting goes to the core and unlocks the mysteries behind today's raciest sport. Motorsports. Catch it when you can.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Post Tech. We're now on episode number 5, coming off of a very intense Quaker State 400 at the Louisville Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Cup Series. We'll also be covering the Walmart 225 in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Louisville and the Toyota Save Mart 151 from Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California. Those were 2 Camping World Truck Series events. We'll be covering them before we get on to the Cup Series race from Sonoma, the Toyota Save Mart 350, later on this weekend on our weekend time slot. But first, let's go over some of the drama that happened at Louisville after the Cup Series race and the big elephant in the room, Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin's confrontation at the end of heat number 2. It knocked them both out of competing in the feature event. It was very crucial for those two because they both missed an entire race worth of points, and it reignited a rivalry which most recently has not really flared up since 2014. The way it's looking after their confrontation on pit road and their wreck on the racetrack, both competitors are likely going to get a $30,000 fine. This is mainly because of the intenseness of the circumstances surrounding the fight. They both missed the race. NASCAR in particular is trying to make sure that this sort of situation does not happen again because they understand that this is, in fact, more severe than if these two would have wrecked and argued over, say, 7th in the feature event. This is these two both missing a points race. So there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings in that. It's like wrecking someone out of, Daytona to make the 500. Not quite as important, but still a pretty important failure on both their parts of missing the race. So they're going to be handing out those 2 fines, make sure this type of argument does not continue into further races this year. However, this is not the first time that these two have been in a major argument. Even though it wasn't at this level, do you recall Martinsville last fall? Denny Hamlin actually got into Brad Keselowski off of turn number 2 late in that race, and Hamlin sent the 2 car around. Back then, Keselowski was driving for Team Penske, now driving the 88 car for Rick Hendrick. It's possible that Keselowski, all of a sudden remembered that accident when he got into the 11 car of Hamlin at Louisville, because Brad was on the outside looking in. He was trying to move Hamlin out of the way to make his way into the feature. Neither of them ended up making it, and in fact, Joey Gase actually snuck by and made the feature. So that was a nice story to come out of a fight. But also, NASCAR officials were ready for the situation between Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones. They were so far apart on opposite ends of pit road. Jones finished well within the top 10. Bubba Wallace finished, I believe, 22nd in heat number 2, so they were on opposite ends of pit road. The officials got in the way of that. However, Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin were right next to each other because they were racing for position when the drop of the checkered flag happened. Considering that NASCAR called the drivers, crew chiefs, and many pit crew guys to the hauler, I'm sure that there's going to be possibly some forced bonding out of this sort of accident. We also had some excerpts from Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski. Here is Hamlin's side of the story after being interviewed about his crash with Brad Keselowski. I don't know. He just ran straight up through me and screwed both of our chances. I really don't know how he's ever won a championship when he races like that. He won't win another. I can guarantee that. From Brad's side of the story, he's ran into everyone more times than people care to remember. Yet I'm the expletive who starts expletive. That has to be censored because this is network TV. I'm sure he'll go explain to the media that he hasn't raced anyone that way before, and yet you can ask anyone in the garage what he's really like. Oh wow, he took a shot at my 1 championship, yet he doesn't have any and never will. So you go tell him that, and when he wins one, then he can start talking. But until then, I'm going to focus on going for 2. So this certainly has reignited their rivalry, but I'm sure that NASCAR handing out huge fines for these two getting into each other will kind of slow that down.
we'll never be even in that sense.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I guess he was right about these two not being even. Hamlin actually has more Cup Series wins than Brad Keselowski, but Brad has a championship. Hamlin's still with a big goose egg. And same situation in NASCAR's Xfinity Series. So they are definitely not even by any stretch of the imagination. But at this point, they might be even of wrecking each other, because it seems like every single time it goes back and forth. I don't expect this rivalry to continue, but I can't guarantee it not continuing, because these two, everybody thought it was over at the end of 2010. That started in 2014 again. Everybody thought it was over after Charlotte. Bam, 2020 happened at Martinsville. Then it all comes to a head once again here at Louisville. Just the way these sorts of things work, circles and circles. I bet we'll be talking the same similar situation in 2024 if they're both still driving. But it looks like NASCAR is going to kind of force these two to quiet down at the very least. But Hamlin, after winning the most races last season, really still has not won a championship. He won the most races of anyone in the 2020 season. He won 4 races. Remember, we had 24 different winners, so there wasn't very many options for repeat winners. But Hamlin has come close probably a good 6 times, to be honest with you now. Brad Keselowski has not come very close too many times, but he did capitalize on it in 2012. So when it comes to the whole championship argument, they both have the talent to win a title, but if they're going to keep racing each other like this, it won't be either of them to win the championship, because just like any kind of argument, there's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth. And I think I'm trying to give the truth as best as I can. I don't think either of these two are going to win the argument. Just like the kart IRL split that NASCAR ended up winning. I think that Brad and Denny are going to fight each other tooth and nail, and probably Truex is going to end up taking advantage of it, because he hasn't been running up front in the last 2 years. If these two keep distracting each other, well, that's 2 cars he doesn't have to worry about. And we all know Kevin Harvick is right at the front end of the field every single week. He proved that at Louisville by leading only 3 laps, but still getting the win. So, really, this is just going to hurt both Brad and Denny, probably equally, if they keep this rivalry going. Also, Ryan Newman, who got turned by Harrison Burton in the heat races. He had a shot to dump Harrison Burton for the race win in the closing laps, but opted to not go for that move. Now, what I think was probably happening, he was racing with the 4-car Kevin Harvick. You could see Kevin just absolutely cutting his way through the field. In fact, in the last 10 laps, he went from being outside the top 10 to winning. That's how much of a rail that number 4 car was on. So odds are Ryan Newman, with his classic, mirror driving, was probably holding off the 4 car of Harvick more than he was concerned of actually trying to get to the 95. Because Harrison was starting to drop back. I think Newman was thinking, if I can hold the 4 car off, I could probably get to the 95 and just beat him on speed. But that 4 car Kevin Harvick absolutely shot out of a cannon at the end of the race. Led only 3 laps, but won the thing. And you only need to lead 1 lap. That was what Eric Jones was trying to do, rebounding from being a lap down, then finishing second, half a second behind Harvick. He had a bit of a shot at it, but not a good enough car there at the end after getting damage from running into Kyle Busch there in the last 25 laps. And speaking of Kevin Harvick's win, this race also highlighted the disparity between Tony Stewart and Gene Haas's programs once again. Now, Tony's side of the team won the race. Clinton Boyer finished in the top 10. The 4 car sits first in points. 14 sets third in the point standings. That's the regular season standings. Gene Haas, Eric Almirola wrecked out, went underneath Chase Briscoe. By the way, you recall that Matt Kenseth landed on him at Pocono last season. Now Chase Briscoe lands on him. What is he, the new Ryan Newman? But also Cole Custer finished 1 lap down. He didn't wreck out, but he still didn't run good whatsoever. So you really have to wonder, is this another sign? Nothing's been confirmed out of these splitting rumors and stuff like that, but you can clearly tell that there is something going on within that organization to where 2 of their cars run up front every single week and the other 2 cars are back half of the 20s. There is something going on, and it can't all just be the driver, because Eric Almirola has proven that he can win. Cole Custer's at least proven he can win the NASCAR Xfinity Series. You would think that they would be running up front if they had the same cars as Kevin and Clint. Granted, Kevin is a champion, so is Clint Boyer, but you wouldn't think that there would be such a disparity in their equipment, because that is what seems to be the biggest difference between the 4-14 and the 41-10. Also, despite a 13th place finish, Austin Dillon actually raced his way from being one lap down back onto the lead lap over the course of the race and had a top 5 car at certain portions of the event. So it was a very good run for the 3 car once again, and to be able to finish 13th after the race that he had was frankly a pretty good comeback. It keeps him well within the top 10 in the point standings. Also, constant rumors circulating around about Eric Jones running fantastically in that number 37, got a runner-up finish at Louisville. Almost running top 10. The point standings currently resides in 11th. The rumor is right now that there might be a trade between JTG Doherty and Stewart-Haas Racing, between Eric Almirola and Eric Jones, getting Jones in the 10 car, Almirola in the 37 or 47, wherever JTG Doherty wants him to go, because they kind of swap their drivers around anyway. I think they just prefer their main driver to be in the 47. I'm one of those really superstitious people that believes if a driver runs good in a particular number, you don't take him out of the number. If you own the car, Alex Bowman finished 5th in the Cup Series point standings last year in the 88 car. Now he's driving the 48. He's not even the same driver anymore, at least the way it looks throughout these first 9 races, even though he had a great showing at Louisville. Beyond that, they haven't been showing top 5 in the point standing speed. I'm just superstitious about numbers. Maybe I'm just crazy. But Eric Almirola, I believe, would be a pretty good fit for JTG. But honestly, I feel like Eric Jones is actually a better fit for that organization. It seems like he's been able to do better with JTG than he ever was for Joe Gibbs, even though he won a race back in 2018 for Joe Gibbs Racing. I think he likes the small team atmosphere. Everybody's kind of working together to make their cars good. I think that's what he wanted to see. It's kind of like when Kyle Busch went to Joe Gibbs Racing, even though that was still a super power team per se. He didn't want to be compared to these legends. Kyle Busch, when he was driving for Rick Hendrick, he was always going to be beneath Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson at that time. Eric Jones driving for Joe Gibbs, he's always going to be beneath Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch. There's no real way to beat those guys when it comes to being young. But, you have to have that time to develop with another team to where you're as good to be with those people. Because imagine, 2007, let's say. Let's just go back to when Kyle Busch drove for Hendrick. If you would have put Martin Truex Jr. Over at, say, Hendrick, nobody would have thought he was deserving of that car. Jimmy Johnson's there. Jeff Gordon's there. Casey Mears was a bit of an exception. No discredit to him, but still. That would have been considered a bad move. Nowadays, it would have been considered genius. It's just the way things go. You think a driver sucks now, he'll end up winning a championship 10 years later. That's what everybody said about Joey Logano back in 2009. But what people didn't realize was in 2007, in November, he was a Busch Grand National North champion. In 2009, he was a Sprint Cup winner. Talk about rushed. Name any other driver that you would take out of the ARCA Menards East Series and throw him into a Cup car, he or she into a Cup car. I can't name a single one that I'd be willing to put that much faith into. But that's why it took so long for Logano to find consistent success and then eventually win a title in 2018. It just takes development. That's what Eric Jones is getting with JTG. He's finding that speed, that cohesion with his team, and I believe that he should probably stay there for at least another year, because going to SHR or what might end up being Haas CNC might be a bad decision for him. But we all know that Eric Almirola is pretty much confirmed to leave Stewart-Haas at the end of the season. Who's going to take his ride? I have absolutely no idea. There's a lot of speculation about it. But Eric Almirola is going to be in a different car next year. It's not confirmed, but it's looking very, very likely. Right now, we have to wonder whether or not Gene Haas would be willing to run 2 cars next year if he does, in fact, split with Tony Stewart. Because Eric Almirola brings all that funding from Smithfield. If Eric leaves, which it looks like he will, that's gone. Cole Custer runs mostly with sponsorship from Haas, and if it's Haas CNC Racing, that means it's unsponsored. So really, they wouldn't have a fully committed sponsor. So it would be a tough situation for them to try and run 2 cars next year without KHI management, without Stewart-Haas Racing being there, without all that funding. I don't know if they could really do it. And also, a couple more nuggets, I guess you could say, about Austin Dillon going to Stewart-Haas Racing. A few sponsors are committed to Austin Dillon himself, not with Richard Childress Racing. Those few being American Ethanol, Bass Pro Shops, Wrangler, and Coca-Cola. Those are Austin Dillon's personal sponsors. Dow would stay with RCR regardless. And Tony Stewart Racing, their sprint car program, has sponsorship from Bass Pro Shops and Tracker Off-Road already. So if Austin does, in fact, go to Stewart Haas Racing, there's already a bunch of sponsors lined up for that situation. One of the drivers you could see possibly on the bill to replace Eric Almirola at Stewart Haas or Haas CNC would be Ryan Sieg, who currently runs the 39 car in NASCAR's Xfinity Series under the Ford Performance banner. They switched to Ford this season. They would have some sponsorship coming from CMR Roofing, but that would more or less be the limit of their funding. Not very many drivers out of Ford's development driver program really have the experience or really even the talent to be successful in Cup. Lack of experience, not enough funding, so on and so forth. It wouldn't really be a good decision to bring one of their in-house drivers to the Cup level because just right now they need more development. Beyond Ryan Sieg, who has enough development, I believe, to be successful in the right car, which if it was Haas CNC, it might not be the right car. But Riley Herbst needs more development time. Sam Hornish Jr. is driving the 22 car for Team Penske. I don't think they'd want to hire him just because he's already been developed. But in my opinion, Ford is going to have to bring somebody from the outside in. That's the way I see it. They're going to have to find some driver from another manufacturer or look to Front Row Motorsports, the other Ford team, which is it's almost a development team in the Cup level. Michael McDowell's been running great this year. Imagine if he goes to Stewart Haas Racing next year. It could happen. I mean, nobody saw Eric Almirola getting signed to the 10 car. Even knowing Danica had spent about 6 years in it, nobody expected Eric Almirola to get it. And also a bit of a note about Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He's been thinking about going to the World of Outlaws full-time next year if he cannot get a Cup Series program lined up. However, even though he's got that great deal with NOS, he's running 24th in the Cup Series standings right now. Eric Jones, although he is massively outperforming Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Eric resides 11th in the standings, Ricky 24th. Those are still really good runs for both the 47 and 37 cars. So it might be the right idea to keep those two together if possible. Tony Stewart recently was asked directly on whether or not he has had any conversations whatsoever with Austin Dillon, to which he responded this: "If that's who Clint wants driving his old car, we'll do whatever we can to make it happen." So that's very encouraging, to say the least, for Austin Dillon's potential run in the number 14 car next season, whether it be under Evernham's name or Haas's name, with Tony, obviously. That we don't know. But the sponsors would be there. The manufacturer we don't know, because if it was with Evernham, odds are it'd be a GM car. I don't see Dodge coming back anytime soon. They could, but it'd be rough, because Tony Stewart is probably pulling most of the strings here. But they're probably not going to side with Ford if they split from Gene Haas. If this Stewart-Haas deal stays together, Austin Dillon will be driving a Ford next year. But if they split, I can almost guarantee you that the number 14 car will be back under the GM camp. Also, a very similar situation will likely happen when Kevin Harvick decides to hang up his helmet, but he is signed all the way out to the conclusion of the 2023 season. And after leading the points to start this year, already has a win at Louisville coming in fantastic fashion, living up to his name, the closer. I could see him maybe wanting to go out to 2025. Why stop now? If you're competitive throughout all these years, why give in? If you can stay at the front of the field into your 50s, let's say, wouldn't you race into your 50s? That's what Harry Gant did. So I could see Kevin Harvick maybe sticking around for 8 to 10 years from now, because Gant retired, I believe, when he was about 54, 55. Kevin's only 44 right now. So maybe Kevin Harvick might decide to run an extra 10 years from here, and he would likely be competitive throughout most of it if he stays at least with a Tony Stewart, Ray Evernham, Gene Haas, whatever type of car. He would still stay competitive, and I don't see Busch Beer leaving him anytime soon. The deal is way too sweet for those guys to leave. And so now, after just a quick commercial break, we'll be going over the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race from Louisville Motor Speedway, giving you the race recap and everything that went on from that race. A quick note before we get into it. It was not ran with heat races. There was single car qualifying to set the field, but the race was still only 125 laps. Obviously, the reason for that is because Louisville does not have a pit road that can support live pit stops. What happened was on the Friday before the Cup Series race, they ran the Cup race Saturday night and the heats Saturday afternoon. What they did was they ran the truck race early Friday afternoon. They ran the NASCAR Xfinity Series race late Friday afternoon, so they got them both in that night because the races were so short. So they gave the fans a good spectacle of racing, but they were still very short events for each series. And so now, after just a quick note from our sponsors, we'll be back in just a minute. NASCAR on Speed Station is being brought to you by RFJ, the official home of the RFJ AI Series. By Knife Friend 725, the brains behind Project Retroval. And by Anthony's Online Simulation League. Welcome back. And before we get on to the race at Louisville Motor Speedway, I got to give you the race analysis. The race took place over the course of 125 laps around the .44-mile short track, with stage number 1 ending on lap number 41 and stage 2 ending on lap 83. So they do not need to pit a single time for tires or fuel unless they have a problem, get involved in an accident or something like that. So now, let's christen this race with our intros. In the regular season point standings, entering the Camping World Truck Series race from Louisville Motor Speedway, Dawson Cram had taken the point lead by 1 point above Ty Gibbs at the conclusion of the race at Talladega. Grant Enfinger dropped down 2 spots in points to third, only 9 points out of the point lead. Ryan Truex sets in fourth, 18 points out. Ty Dillon, fifth, 19 points out. Casey Mears in sixth, 21 points out. Christian Eckes in 7th, 25 points out. Parker Kligerman in 8th, 27 points out. Austin Terrio in 9th spot, 31 points out of the point lead. And Sheldon Creed in 10th, 33 points out of the point lead. And the pole sitter for the Truck Series race at Louisville was Timothy Peters, the driver of the number 87 for Nemco Motorsports. It's important to mention that Landon Castle, the winner at the Nashville Superspeedway, qualified the number 53 truck in 4th spot. Also, Austin Dillon in the number 3 truck qualified in 5th. Brad Keselowski in his very own number 29 qualified in 6th. The number 57 of Sam Mayer qualified in 7th. And the 61 of Christopher Bell qualified in 8th. Coming off his first NASCAR Cup Series win at Talladega Superspeedway, Brendan Poole qualified the 30 truck in 14th spot. Kyle Busch, back in the number 51 truck, qualifies in 18th. It's important to mention that because Kyle Busch is in this race, this is in fact a Kyle Busch bounty event. If another Cup Series competitor can win the race above Kyle Busch, they will get a $100,000 bonus. Jake Finch, the son of NASCAR Cup Series team owner James Finch, qualified the number 5 truck in 27th spot. Will Kimmel in the number 69 qualified his very own truck, making his second career Camping World Truck Series start in 30th. And we also had another debut beyond Jake Finch, Taylor Gray, who qualified the number 17 truck in 35th spot. Ironically enough, his brother Tanner Gray did not make the race. Timothy Peters got a very comfortable start of the race, getting through the gears very cleanly and clearing the number 99 truck of Ben Rhodes as the 21 truck of Zane Smith took up the second spot on lap 1, as well as the 3 truck of Austin Dillon moving in the third, with Peters leading lap number 1. On lap number 4, the number 21 truck of Zane Smith gets to the inside of the 87 of Timothy Peters, goes side by side with him onto the front straightaway, and through turns 1 and 2, Zane Smith took the race lead off of Timothy Peters. By lap number 7, Grant Enfinger had taken up the second spot as the 87 truck of Peters continuously fell back, with Dawson Cram moving into the third running position in the 41 truck. On lap number 9, Kyle Busch was running all the way back in 32nd spot in the number 51 truck. Much like the race at Auto Club, could not find the handle on the racetrack early in the event. And at the start of lap number 10, Grant Enfinger got to the inside of the 21 truck of Zane Smith to take up the race lead. Also taking advantage of Zane Smith's mistake was Dawson Cram, who took up the second spot off the 21 into turn 1. And remarkably, by lap number 11, The 5 truck of Jake Finch has made his way all the way up into 7th spot. An incredible debut so far after being able to hook the bottom of the racetrack, but he has quite a bit of short track racing experience already in his young career. And on lap number 15, Matt Crafton got to the inside the 21 truck of Zane Smith and took up the 3rd spot in the 88. By lap number 17, the 17 truck of Taylor Gray has actually raced his way all the way into 9th. Now getting to the inside of Ty Gibbs, going for 8th spot in a fantastic debut race. And look at this on lap number 21. Will Kimmel on the inside of Sam Mayer and Austin Dillon racing to stay on the lead lap. Goes 3 wide on the back straightaway, making moves on the inside of Dillon, Mayer, and Gilliland, getting around all 3 of them with an incredible pass over the course of 2 laps. But Will Kimmel sneaking by culminated in this battle between 2 NASCAR Cup Series regulars, Christopher Bell and Austin Dillon. There you see Dillon tries to get to the inside of the 38, makes contact with Todd Gilliland. Then the 3 truck slows up, gets clipped by the 61 of Christopher Bell, and Bell sends him around up into the outside wall right in front of the race leader of Grant Enfinger, who puts Austin Dillon down 1 lap as the caution flag comes out. Enfinger is your leader above Dawson Cram and Matt Crafton, as Austin Dillon has dropped 1 lap down due to getting up into the outside wall. And the reason he was racing so hard was so that he could stay on the lead lap. It's also important to mention that the number 75 truck of Parker Kligerman has raced his way up into 4th already. Chandler Smith in the number 46 truck for Kyle Busch Motorsports made some very aggressive moves on the restart, driving from 6th to 3rd in just 2 laps. And then just 2 laps later, he ran down the number 41 truck of Dawson Cram, taking up 2nd. Now with his sights set on the number 98 of Grant Enfinger. And on lap number 34, Chandler Smith got to the inside the 98 truck of Enfinger. Enfinger backs off, and Smith out to the race lead at Louisville. On lap number 36, Christian Eckes got to the inside the number 98 truck of Grant Enfinger, and Eckes took up the 2nd position in the number 12 truck. And there was a very odd accident coming to the green and white checkered flag for stage number 1. The 38 truck of Todd Gilliland blows his engine coming through turns 3 and 4, right at the tail end of the lead lap. Here's Austin Dillon in the 3 truck, who got back onto the lead lap, trying to get around him, accidentally makes contact with the number 38 truck, gets turned around once again, and there on the inside is the number 46 of Chandler Smith, up in front of the 12 truck of Christian Eckes, crossing the start-finish line to win stage number 1 in very dramatic fashion, as the 38 truck of Todd Gilliland dropped out of the race due to the engine failure that he suffered on the back straightaway. And on the lap of the restart, the 12 truck of Christian Eckes got to the inside of Chandler Smith. They went side by side down to the line, the 46 truck edging him out, but Christian Eckes took the top spot on the exit of turn number 1. Also, we have the 4 truck of John Hunter Nemechek getting to the inside the 98 of Grant Enfinger. Nemechek taking up 3rd. And how about this move on lap number 48? Ben Rhodes forcing Timothy Peters and Matt Crafton wide, passing 2 trucks in that maneuver as the number 4 truck of John Hunter Nemechek takes up 2nd off his teammate. Make note that number 5 truck of Jake Finch running in 5th position, as now the 98 of Grant Enfinger back down to the inside, the 46 Enfinger taking up 3rd. And also Brett Holmes forced the 88 truck of Matt Crafton wide as well. And look at who is now making his name known in the top 10. That's the number 51 truck of Kyle Busch, the winningest driver in the series, but still with 0 drivers' championships, running right now behind a fellow Cup Series driver and Truck Series owner, Brad Keselowski, in his number 29 truck. On lap number 57, the 98 of Grant Enfinger got to the inside of the 4 of John Hunter Nemechek to retake the 2nd position. And by lap number 60, the number 1 truck of Haley Deegan, she has raced her way all the way into 9th spot, one of her best runs of the year since Daytona. Also important to mention that Kyle Busch has gotten around the number 29 truck of Brad Keselowski. Busch now running in 6th position. On lap 62, Grant Enfinger got to the inside of the 12 truck of Christian Eckes through turns number 3 and 4 to take up the top spot with just about 20 laps to go in stage number 2. On lap 64, John Hunter Nemechek also got to the inside the 12 truck of Eckes, taking up the second position. On lap number 68, race leader Grant Enfinger has to take evasive action as a very large pileup forms on the inside line, clogging more or less the entire field. Just barely gets the truck wound up, but the number 99 of Ben Rhodes, who was running in third, makes heavy contact with the 44 truck of Jet Nolan. Several trucks were involved in this mess, but Grant Enfinger fortunately managed to drive his way out of it. Definitely not what you want to see up in front of you as the race leader. And so here's what happened. Haley Deegan, the number 1 truck, abruptly slows up on the exit of turn number 1, like there's a problem on the 1 truck, possibly an engine failure or something like it. The number 88 truck of Crafton can't slow down in time and rams the 1 truck. That turns the 1 up into the 61 of Christopher Bell. 55 gets damaged. Here comes the 69 of Will Kimmel. Big impact into the 55 truck. And now trucks are trying to miss the wreck, which is why they accidentally make contact with the attenuator wall. Trucks just piling into that mess. The 3 of Austin Dillon in his third crash of the day. The 09 of Parsons. The 24 of Lassard. The 22 of Austin Wayne Self. The 25 of Michael Self. And there's the race leaders trying to miss the accident. Fortunately, no injuries out of this crash, but a very scary one, as yet again the attenuator wall claims victims. And here's the front bumper on board with Ben Rhodes. Trying to slow up for the accident. Sees it right up in front of him, tries to go to the inside and slams into the 44 truck of Jet Nolan. That actually blew the radiator on the number 99 truck of Ben Rhodes, knocking him from third all the way out of the race. Also an unfortunate story for the number 69 truck of Will Kimmel, making his first Truck Series start since 2010. Unfortunately gets knocked out of the race early. Some notable names that wrecked out in that accident include Austin Dillon, who was involved in his third crash of the day in that incident, Sheldon Creed, your defending champion, Landon Castle, who won at the Nashville Superspeedway, and Ben Rhodes, who unfortunately wrecked out of third spot trying to check up for the accident. John Hunter Nemechek, even though he got some front-end damage, decided to stay out, did not get any damage repairs, and restarted in second. On lap 73, race leader Grant Enfinger gets put 3 wide by the lap trucks of Chase Purdy and Casey Mears, forcing Enfinger to use as much of the racetrack as possible. That dropped the number 98 truck back and allowed the 4 truck of John Hunter Nemechek on the inside to close the gap. On lap 75, the 21 truck of Zane Smith puts the bumper to the 61 of Christopher Bell, and they door slam on the front straightaway. Battle between lead lap and lap trucks, as on the inside, Zane Smith actually took the third spot off the 12 truck of Christian Eckes. That also set him up to make the move on the 4 truck of John Hunter Nemechek, moving Smith into second spot. Farther in the back, racing for 10th, the number 92 truck of Austin Terrio forces the field 3 wide, getting to the inside of the 12 of Christian Eckes and the 61 of Christopher Bell in the same move. Eckes on the lead lap, Bell 1 lap down. And by lap number 79, Dawson Cram once again snuck his way into third spot. Also the driver of the number 30, Brendan Poole, has raced his way into fourth. Also on lap number 80, Kyle Busch got to the inside of his teammate Ty Gibbs and the 75 of Parker Kligerman, forcing those 2 3 wide on the exit of turn number 4, moving that 51 truck up into the top 10. And it was smooth sailing for Grant Enfinger from there on out. At the conclusion of lap number 83, Enfinger won stage number 2 above the 21 of Zane Smith, the 41 of Dawson Cran, the 30 of Brendan Poole, and the 4 of John Hunter Nemechek. In just 5 laps after the restart, Kyle Busch went from 8th to 2nd in the number 51 truck. What that tells me is because they did not make a single adjustment on the 51 truck because, well, no live pit stops in this race. It's just green flags supposed to be all the way. You do not need to pit for tires. You do not need to pit for anything. The 51 truck did not come down pit road. What that tells me is that he did his best job at saving the tires as anyone on the racetrack, because you saw how bad that 51 truck was at the beginning, but maybe that was planned. Maybe Kyle Busch just wasn't running the 51 truck as hard as he needed to, because he started to really carve his way through the field in the closing 40 laps. On lap 94, the 61 truck of Christopher Bell gets one of his laps back. That opens up the door for Kyle Busch and the number 51 truck to take the race lead off the 98 of Grant Enfinger. Busch being out front in the Truck Series event is not a new sight, but Kyle Busch has never led at the Louisville Motor Speedway. because this track was off the schedule by the time he was old enough to even run a Camping World Truck Series start. On lap 96, the 75 truck of Parker Kligerman drove his way around the 46 of Chandler Smith, then got to the inside, the 98 of Grant Enfinger going for second spot. On lap 102, Taylor Gray pulled off a very unexpected move, getting to the inside of Cup Series champion Brad Keselowski, taking up fourth in the number 17 truck. On lap number 107, Kyle Busch reports in the number 51 truck that his truck has started to push. As you can tell, the number 75 truck has really gained a lot of ground, now within half a second on the 51 truck of Kyle Busch. And Kligerman drove his way all the way up to the tailgate of the number 51 truck of Kyle Busch. However, entering turn number 1 on lap 111, he slips out of the concrete and misses the corner, dropping back about half a second in just 2 turns off the 51 truck. And that little mistake allowed the 40 truck of Will Rogers to pressure Parker Kligerman for the second spot and take it off the 75, as Kyle Busch has extended his lead out to a little bit over 1 second. And the 40 truck of Will Rogers actually started to gain ground on the number 51 truck of Kyle Busch, but he just was not closing it fast enough. In fact, he got the gap from first to second down to 3/4 of a second, but then in the final 5 laps, Kyle Busch started to extend it back out to around 1.2 seconds. And it was smooth sailing from there for the driver of the number 51 truck, Kyle Busch, taking the white flag with about a 1.5 second lead above Will Rogers in the number 40 truck. Busch does the best job of anyone at Louisville at saving their tires to get all the way to the end of the race with the best possible equipment. Kyle Busch crosses the start-finish line to win the Camping World Truck Series race at Louisville Motor Speedway. Yet another win for Kyle Busch in NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series, extending that lead in the win column. Following the Camping World Truck Series race from Louisville, Dawson Cram actually extended his point lead all the way out to 12 points above Ty Gibbs in the number 18 truck. Grant Enfinger also 12 points out of the point lead, running in third. So now the top 3 runners in the point standings did not fall or gain any spots in points after Louisville. However, Cram did, in fact, extend his lead, and Enfinger closed the gap up to Gibbs just a little bit because the 18 truck dropped back. Parker Kligerman with another fantastic finish in the number 75 truck moved up 4 spots in points all the way up to 4th, just 26 points out of that lead. Ty Dillon stays in 5th, 26 points out. Christian Eckes picks up 1 spot in the point standings up to 6th, 30 points out. Austin Theriault picks up 2 spots in the point standings, 32 points out. Running in 7th, Casey Mears drops down 2 spots in points to 8th, 42 points out of the point lead. Timothy Peters picks up 3 spots in the point standings all the way up to 9th, 44 points out. And Ryan Truex loses 6 spots in the point standings down to 10th. The number 33 truck, 50 points out of the point lead. In your playoff standings, Dawson Cram still atop the standings, means that he has an automatic playoff berth into the postseason starting at Darlington. Ty Gibbs, Christian Eckes, Casey Mears, Ryan Truex, and Matt Crafton are all locked in with wins. Best of the rest is Grant Enfinger, 62 points above the cutoff line. Kligerman, 48. Dillon, 47. Theriault 42, Peters 30, Ben Rhodes 17, Creed 16, Tanner Gray 13 points above, Ty Majeski 11 points above, Chandler Smith 9 points above the cutoff line. Brett Holmes 9 points out, Austin Wayne Self 11 points out, as well as Zane Smith, and then Chase Purdy is 15 points out of making the playoffs. And now, after just a quick commercial break, we will be back right here on Post Tech to go over the Camping World Truck Series Toyota Save Mart 151 from Sonoma Raceway, the Camping World Truck Series first race at that facility since 1998. We'll be seeing you in just a minute. NASCAR on Speed Station is being brought to you by RFJ, the official home of the RFJ AI Series, by Knife Friend 725, the brains behind Project Retroval, and by Anthony's Online Simulation League. Welcome back, and in the race analysis for the Toyota Save Mart 151, the race took place over the course of 55 laps around the 1.99-mile road course. Stage number 1 ended on lap 18, and stage 2 ended on lap 38, with the race almost split up into perfect thirds. And so now, let's christen this race once again with our intros. The number 92 truck of Austin Terrio won the pole at Sonoma Raceway, with road course ringer Alex Tagliani qualifying 8th in the truck that won the previous week at Louisville. The Cup Series regular Jan Magnuson qualified the number 53 truck in 9th. Mike Skeen in the number 8 truck for Nemco Motorsports qualified the 8 in 13th. And our final road course ringer was the driver of the number 3 truck this weekend for Jordan Anderson and Germain Racing, that being Cup Series competitor Kaz Gralla in the number 3 truck, who almost won at Mosport back in 2017. And on the green flag, Ty Dillon actually was the leader at the start-finish line, beating the number 92 truck up the hill, and that turned into a battle for the top spot through the first few turns here at Sonoma. And as you can tell, Sonoma Raceway in April, what does that mean? Grass. And in the back, the 44 truck of Jet Noland almost got turned around as well. 31 of Dillon side by side with the 92 of Terrio. Dillon gets on top of one of the curbs, and Austin Terrio in the number 92 truck for Brad Keselowski Racing takes the race lead. On the inside line, here comes the 03 truck of Scott Lagasse Jr. for On Point Motorsports, taking up the 3rd spot off the 57 of Sam Mayer. Also on lap number 1, we had the number 53 truck of Jan Magnuson dropping back quite a bit. On the inside line, the 60 truck of Casey Mears dove it into the corner to take up the 10th spot off the 53. And just for an update on some of your key players in the point standings, the point leader entering today's event, Dawson Cram, currently resides 21st in the race. Number 98 truck of Grant Enfinger running all the way up into 19th, with the second place runner in point standings coming into this event, Ty Gibbs, running in 24th. So the top 3 runners in the standings running all together from 19th to 24th position. At the end of lap number 5, Scott Lagasse Jr. set the fastest lap of any truck, but he resides in 3rd spot. It's very difficult to try to make a pass here at Sonoma Raceway. You have to time it right. It's not like how a track like Watkins Glen has big straightaways and the tight braking zones. This place is more or less slow braking zones all the way around. Very difficult to try and set up a pass anywhere but turn 11. That is the most open area to trying to make a move. And running in 33rd spot, Taylor Gray once again made the race at Sonoma, California. However, his brother Tanner Gray did make the race this time, but he did not start the race. DNS credited to the number 15 truck. They could not get the truck fired on pit road, and they decided to pull the thing behind the wall. Very unfortunate to have to make the trip all the way out to California, only to DNS. On lap number 8, the 22 truck of Austin Wayne Self has a tire coming apart, bringing out our first caution of the day. Very unfortunate situation for Self, as he blew the tire coming past the start-finish line, so he has to drive the full 2 miles around the road course to get back down pit road. Well, the teams quickly figured out that it's very difficult to try and make up track position under green, just going out there and flat-out passing trucks. So they decided to come down pit road, hopefully put on fresh tires right now, so they won't have to at the start of stage number 2. Pit now so you don't have to later. At least that was the theory out of Ty Dillon and Alex Tagliani's teams. On the restart, the number 53 truck of Jan Magnuson got to the inside the 60 of Casey Mears, going from 9th to 8th spot with that pass. And you can come down pit road under green here at Sonoma without losing a lap, and that is what Jesse Little and Stuart Friesen both did at the end of lap number 11. They're trying to use the strategy as well of pitting now instead of having to at the stage caution. Austin Terrio did a great job of keeping that number 92 truck out front all the way through stage number 1 and keeping the number 92 clean as well. Now downshifting into first gear through turn 11 and onto the front straightaway. Austin Terrio in the number 92 truck for Brad Keselowski Racing will win stage number 1 from Sonoma Raceway. The second place runner was Scott Lagasse Jr., who managed to take second in the number 03 truck, and third was the 57 of Sam Mayer. And this is when pit strategy comes into play. Most of the field ducking onto pit road this time by after the conclusion of stage number 1, being led down by Austin Terrio. But we had 2 trucks stay out, those being the 97 of Jesse Little and the 52 of Stuart Friesen, who had pitted just a few laps prior. This worked exactly into their strategy play, as they pitted early, did not have to pit at the end of the stage 1 caution, and now cycle out first and second. Austin Terrio dropped down to third by pitting. And the number 53 truck of Jan Magnuson lost actually about 5 spots on pit road with a poor stop. On lap number 22, Mike Skeen in the number 8 truck for Nemco Motorsports got to the inside of the 42 of Carson Hocevar to take up the 12th position. We also have Raphael Lassard running in 10th spot, one of his best runs of the season, the number 24 truck for GMS. Also, we had the number 87 and 22 trucks of Timothy Peters and Austin Wayne Self come down pit road. These two trying to utilize the same strategy that Jesse Little and Stuart Friesen used to put those two out front, except they're planning on using it for the final stage caution. It's important to note that that number 51 truck of Alex Tagliani was not running on all 8 cylinders. That is why he currently resides in 40th spot behind the number 91 of Justin Carroll and the 25 of Michael Self. On lap 24, the 45 truck starts to slow down just a little bit. He has a slow air leak in one of his tires, gets a slow exit of turn number 11, and Christopher Bell actually goes down the inside with Bell splitting him as well as Derek Kraus. And the 45 truck still running quite slowly, entering turn number 1, gets pushed out of line by Brett Holmes. Now a bit of contact up the hill between him and the number 56 of Timmy Hill. And then through turn 10, the number 17 truck of Taylor Gray makes contact with the 45 of Brett Moffitt, almost turning him around, and then finally Moffitt decides to just throw the towel in and come down pit road to get 4 fresh tires, because he certainly had one of them going down. And on lap number 25, 92 truck of Terrio on fresh tires closed the gap up to the 52 of Stuart Friesen, going for second, but Friesen not giving up through the S's and actually re-clears the number 92 truck of Austin Terrio for the second spot. And how about the number 97 of Jesse Little out front? One of the first times he's been in the race lead outside of a super speedway all season long, and he's doing a pretty good job at holding off the exceptionally fast number 92 truck of Austin Terrio, who resides in third. On lap number 26, the 92 truck of Austin Terrio set up the move on the 52 truck to the inside, outbraking him entering turn number 11. And the 92 of Austin Terrio took second spot off the 52 of Stuart Friesen. Now with his sights set on the slightly slower number 97 of Jesse Little, as there you see the 52 truck did not give up until the entrance to turn 1 that lap. And then the 92 truck tried diving it into the turn to get up to the tailgate of the number 97, couldn't quite corner well enough to put the bumper to him, as the 52 truck of Stuart Friesen slid off the corner, but that 92 really sending the message to the 97 that he is much quicker. On lap 27, 03 truck of Scott Legassi Jr. gets to the inside the 52 truck to move his way into third spot, as Jesse Little still doing a great job at holding off that 92 of Austin Terrio for the top spot. However, it was not going to be enough as the tires wore down on the number 97 truck. Austin Terrio took the race lead on lap number 28. And Scott Legassi Jr. actually probably had the fastest truck on track. However, he was stuck behind the number 97 of Jesse Little, who was still doing a great job at defending for that second position. But these two battling for second actually allowed Austin Terrio to get out to a near 3-second lead over the course of the run to the end of stage number 2. Also, how about Matt Crafton in the 88 truck for ThorSport, the hometown racer from the state of California, running in the 4th spot. On lap number 30, the 03 truck of Scott Legassi Jr. finally got to the inside of the 97 of Jesse Little and was able to outbrake him. But unfortunately for Legassi, Austin Terrio had already put a little over 2-second gap on him. On lap number 32, the caution flag flies once again as the number 51 truck of Alex Tagliani, who is down 1 cylinder, comes off of turn number 11 and stalls the number 51 truck. It also gets turned around by the 25 of Michael Self. Near the end of stage number 2, we had a big-time split in pit strategy. 92, 03, 97, 88, and several others coming down pit road, but your defending champion Sheldon Creed will stay out above Casey Mears, Parker Kligerman, Raphael Lassard, and Carson Hocevar, with Sheldon Creed trying to take home the stage number 2 victory. And the 03 truck of Scott Legassi Jr. actually beat the 92 of Austin Terrio off pit road. Here's their only problem. They start about 20 spots behind the race leader of Sheldon Creed. So even knowing that they are on fresh rubber, it's not going to matter to the end of stage number 2 at the very least, because there's just going to be 2 laps to go at the drop of the green flag, and they do not have enough time to pass that many trucks. And on the restart, with just 2 laps to go in stage number 2, the number 75 truck of Parker Kligerman actually drove around the 60 of Casey Mears for second on the outside line. And those two battling for second allowed the 2 truck of Sheldon Creed to gap the field by about 4/10. Also, Jan Magnuson, driving the number 53 truck, raced his way all the way up to 6th. And because most of the leaders came down pit road before the 2-lap to go restart, Sheldon Creed raced his way back to the start-finish line on lap number 36, exiting turn number 11. The 75 truck of Parker Kligerman just about half a second behind, with Creed winning stage number 2 at Sonoma. Sheldon Creed gets the stage 2 victory, his first of the season, above the 75 truck of Parker Kligerman, the 60 of Casey Mears, the 24 of Raphael Lessard, and the 42 of Carson Hocevar. And under caution while running in second, Parker Kligerman pulls his truck off to the side of the road, and it stalls. Kligerman, running in second, now has to be towed back to pit road. That means that the entire field moves up 1 spot, with the exception of Sheldon Creed, who held the race lead. So that means Mears into second, with Lessard now running in third. An unfortunate break for Henderson Motorsports. On the restart, we had our first crash of the entire race. The number 16 truck of Austin Hill tries to get to the inside, but here comes the number 19 of Derek Kraus trying to make it 3 wide. Kraus makes contact with the 16, accidentally turning him around. Then Austin Hill, sliding through the grass backwards, makes contact with the number 19 truck of Derek Kraus. 19 goes up into the 97 of Jesse Little, who slides it all the way up into the grass and tries to climb the hill and get out of the loose dirt in the first few turns. And the number 19 truck of Derek Kraus actually got the worst damage out of this, getting hit in the left side by the 16 truck when he was sliding back onto the racetrack, and getting ran into by the number 97 of Jesse Little. Under caution, the number 42 truck of Carson Hocevar came down pit road, as well as the number 23 of Brett Holmes and the 52 of Stuart Friesen. A little bit more pit strategy throughout the final stage. And under caution, the number 46 truck of Chandler Smith has a tire puncture. Unfortunately for him, he has to come down pit road with the pace car, giving up his 15th place running position. On the restart, Jan Magnuson dove it into turn number 1 to try and get around the number 24 truck of Raphael Lessard, drifted wide on the exit of the corner, but still ran side by side with the 24 of Lessard, who is getting one of his best runs of the season. Magnuson, in fact, in his first ever Camping World Truck Series start, almost gets up into the grass, but takes up the 3rd spot in the number 53. Also, how about Chris Wright? The 02 truck for Young's Motorsports, getting a great run, currently resides in 5th. Also, how about this moment on the restart? Matt Crafton dives into turn 1, 3 wide up on the outside, almost gets forced up into the grass by the 17 of Taylor Gray and the 22 of Austin Wayne Self, but he makes it work, going from 22nd to 20th with that move. Also, the number 3 truck of Kaz Gralla currently resides in 10th spot. Gralla once again getting a great run on the road course. And you remember when the number 92 truck of Austin Theriault came down pit road? Well, he's more or less gone nowhere in a hurry, putting the bumper to the 87 truck of Timothy Peters, going into 15th. And now keep in mind that all the trucks in front of him likely do have to make one more pit stop. However, if we get a bunch of cautions before the end of the race, they should be able to make it on fuel. So that is a very big concern for the number 92 team, which is why Theriault is trying to cut his way through the field as fast as possible. Just got around Ty Dillon as well, but it might not be fast enough. Also, how about this number 44 truck of Jet Noland, currently running in the 6th position for Nice Motorsports. You know, it's funny, the last time the number 44 truck won in the Camping World Truck Series was right here back in 1998. Boris Said won for Irvin Simo Racing in the number 44 truck. That was the last time that number has won in this series. You know, it seems like we've been talking a lot about freak accidents lately, and this was one of them. The number 92 truck of Austin Theriault, trying to cut through the field as fast as possible, makes contact coming out of the final corner with the left rear quarter panel of the 30 truck of Brendan Poole. Turns Poole into the inside concrete wall, and Poole actually goes through the concrete, and it rips the front end of the 30 truck off, stuck in the inside wall. And now, fortunately, Brendan Poole was uninjured in this accident. However, it has proved a very serious safety concern with that inside wall here at Sonoma. In fact, as we speak, SMI, Speedway Motorsports, is taking up efforts of widening out that wall just a little bit so that you cannot go through it. And they are ensuring that an accident like this cannot be repeated in the NASCAR Cup Series event, the Toyota Save Mart 350, which is coming on Sunday. A red flag was displayed for that accident, as NASCAR had to spend the next 2 hours repairing the concrete wall that the number 30 truck of Brennan Poole ripped through. You recall, there used to be certain wrecks at, I believe it was Phoenix in the Camping World Truck Series event, as well as Dover many years ago when the ovals used to have concrete walls all surrounding them. Trucks, cars alike, would go through the concrete if it hit it at the right angle. Well, this is more or less what the number 30 truck did, with only one problem. The walls here at Sonoma, being road course walls, are not as thick as the walls used to be at Dover, or that they used to be at Phoenix when they were just concrete. So that's why the 30 truck went through it so quickly. But it then did rip off the front end from the front axle forward off of that truck. It's just gone. It was ripped off by the wall taking it off. Once he went in, it then sort of ripped away. So a very strange accident here at Sonoma that SMI officials will be dealing with before the Cup Series race Sunday night. So the good news from that accident is that Brennan Poole was in fact uninjured. The bad news is that they totaled one of their better trucks after recently getting that tightened alliance with TRD after they won that Cup Series race, the Geico 500, just 2 weeks ago. And then the green flag came out with just 6 laps to go. Austin Theriault dives it into turn number 1, getting to the inside of Kaz Grella, trying to make up as much track position as possible with just a few laps remaining. Remember that 92 truck is really the only one who can be on the offensive, as he is the highest up truck on fresh tires and not in a concerning fuel situation. However, the caution flag already being displayed. On the restart, Todd Gilliland just gets down to the inside of the 22 truck of Austin Wayne Self, makes contact with the 22, spinning him around up in front of the field. Fortunately, does not get hit by any trucks, more than just a little bit of contact with the 52, but that brings out yet another caution as Austin Hill right there ran it through the grass to avoid being involved in the crash as well. And right after the number 22 truck got sent around, Timmy Hill makes contact with Christopher Bell, turning him straight into the outside wall, knocking that 61 truck out of the race. And here's the onboard with Bell. An almost completely straight impact with the tire barrier, had almost no way of avoiding it. And very interestingly, racing back to the caution flag, Michael Self clears the 42 truck, but then Hocevar turns down to the 25, turning Self hard into the outside wall. But the funny part about this is, because Michael Self did not decide to come down pit road for that damage, he's still lined up ahead of the 42 because he beat him to the start-finish line, and that was rightfully his position. I'm not sure if that was somewhat frustration out of Hocevar, or if that was just merely a mistake, but still quite a bit of damage on the driver's side of Michael Self's truck. Jeff Stankiewicz is starting to look like he pulled the right strategy call for the number 2 truck, even knowing that they knew they were going to be close on fuel. All these cautions are putting them right into the fuel number. The only concerning part about it is we will have at least one more restart, and the number 92 truck has driven his way all the way up to 8th. I don't think he'll be able to get to the lead that quickly, but he sure does have a strong truck. Also, Haley Deegan, the number 1 truck for LGR, has raced her way into 11th. And the green flag comes back out with just 3 laps to go at Sonoma. Magnuson tries to jump up to the outside of the 60 truck. However, that leaves the inside lane open for Raphael Lessard. Now using the outside line, trying to clear the 53 truck of Magnuson, and Lessard takes up the 3rd position for GMS Racing. Take a look at this battle for position. The 03 truck slowing up, then the 87 puts the bumper to the 98 of Grant Enfinger. He has to catch the truck on the exit of turn 11. Then on the front straightaway, he gets put 3 wide almost by Sam Mayer, and almost wrecks once again. Almost gets put into the grass going up the hill, gets ran wide by the 03 truck of Scott Legassi Jr., runs through the grass, but still manages to keep that number 98 truck together, as it looks like the 03 has a slow tire leak as well. as he is abruptly slowing up, trying to limp that 03 truck home with less than 2 laps to go. And this time by, the number 03 truck of Scott Lagasse Jr. unfortunately has to come onto pit road as Sheldon Creed takes the white flag. Lagasse with terrible luck in that number 03 truck after running in third spot for the majority of the first half of the race. And the strategy played out in their favor. Sheldon Creed, your defending champion, through turn 11, runs the final 20 or so laps without having to come down pit road. Had a slight challenge from the 60 truck of Casey Mears, but Mears could not get around him. Sheldon Creed wins in his home state of California, taking the victory in the Toyota Save Mart 151 from Sonoma, punching his ticket into the playoffs in the number 2 truck for GMS Racing. Raphael Lessard gets third, Magnuson in fourth, and Chris Wright in fifth. Also, how about Jet Noland finishing in sixth in that number 44 truck? And in the regular season point standings following Sonoma, Dawson Crams still holds that point lead by just a narrow 2 points above Ty Gibbs, the winner at Talladega. Grant Enfinger is 15 points out of the point lead in third. Ty Dillon moves up 1 spot in the point standings, 19 points out of the lead. Austin Terrio moves up 2 to 5th, 23 points back. Casey Mears moves up 2 spots in the point standings, up to 6th, 27 points back. Christian Eckes drops down 1 spot in the point standings, down to 7th, 29 points back. Sheldon Creed picks up 4 with his win at Sonoma, up into 8th spot, 38 points back. Parker Kligerman drops down 5 spots in the point standings, down to 9th, 39 points back. And Timothy Peters drops down 1 spot in the point standings, 48 points out of the point lead. Dawson Crams still holds that automatic playoff berth by holding the top spot in the standings. Ty Gibbs, Casey Mears, Christian Eckes, Sheldon Creed, Ryan Truex, and Matt Crafton all have wins, so they are all locked in. The 2 other winners of the year are Kyle Busch and Landon Castle. However, they are Cup Series competitors, so their wins do not count. Grant Enfinger is the best of the rest, 69 points above the cut line. Ty Dillon, 65 points above. Terrio, 61. Kligerman, 45. Peters, 36. Ben Rhodes, 29. Majeski, 28. Tanner Gray, 14 points above. Chase Purdy, 2 points above. Chandler Smith, 2 points out. Brett Holmes, 4 points out. Carson Hosefar, 5 points out. And John Hunter Nemechek is 11 points out of making the playoffs. And so now, after just a quick commercial break, we'll be back on Post Tech for my favorite segment of the show, Q&A. NASCAR on Speed Station is being brought to you by RFJ, the official home of the RFJ AI series, by Knife Friend 725, the brains behind Project Retroval, and by Anthony's Online Simulation League. Hello everyone, welcome back to Post Tech. Now we get on to the Q&A segment of episode number 5, my personal favorite segment of the show, where we get to answer questions sent in by fans just like you. Number 1, from Colin McCoy, 2-part question. With the possibility of Tony Stewart starting a Camping World Truck Series team, could Donnie Schatz potentially make some starts? You know, I'd like to see that. Even knowing that they're planning on running Sam Mayer, if that does in fact happen, next season, you know, once they get the whole Sam Mayer development deal done and JRM picks up Sam for the full deal, you know, in the Xfinity Series in 2022, I could see Schatz potentially running at least the dirt races in 2022 in the number 14 truck. But we'll see how that potential plan goes for this season, because we don't even know if that's going to happen yet. It's just a big rumor that's going to happen with Stewart's frustrations of SHR's development program. And 2, with Haas CNC possibly making a return next season, could they outperform the duo of Stewart and Evernham, or fall to their previous struggles when Gene was with his own team before Stewart Haas Racing? I don't think it will really be either. I don't think they'll be able to outperform the Stewart Evernham program, just because there's a lot of knowledge in that program, good drivers, a good situation lining up over there, if that does happen. The Haas CNC team, I don't think would struggle quite as bad as when they had, you know, Ward Burton in the Zero car. You know, it's not going to be like that. What I believe it's going to be more like, they're going to perform similar to Roush. You know, the 17, the 6 cars, probably somewhere around, you know, 15th. That's probably going to be their level of speed next year if they do in fact split, which would actually be a little bit better than the number 10 and 41 cars are doing right now anyway. So, with the 4 and 14 cars likely leaving Ford if Tony Stewart splits with Gene Haas, then that would open up the opportunity for Ford to maybe support Roush and Haas CNC a little bit more and get those cars running up front. So it might actually help other teams more than Haas CNC in particular. From Switchblade, with many tracks currently in talks of hosting a Cup Series race in 2022, has NASCAR considered expanding the schedule to 40 races? There have been slight talks about it, but honestly, I don't quite see it happening because, cost is still in effect. They'll probably make the decision of yes or no at the end of 2022 if this next-gen car really does make things cost a whole lot less, as is currently rumored. If that new car does in fact brings the cost all the way down to more reasonable amounts, then you could see NASCAR considering running 40 races. But right now, all the talk that I've been hearing about is maybe NASCAR wanting to make the All-Star race a points race next year and take out maybe some of the non-points events. That's the only talks that I've heard so far about schedule differences. That's if the cost stays high. Obviously, they're trying to make it lower with the next-gen car, but we'll have to really see how much of an effect that it takes. From Steve Jobs, I like that name. Any chances we see a racetrack in Boston join the schedule soon? So we haven't really heard any sort of talks about any tracks up in the whole state of Massachusetts. More interest in the Northeast area, in the state of Connecticut, stuff like that, like Stafford Speedway, Thompson Speedway. That's more the northeastern racing market that NASCAR wants to tap into. The Cup Series doesn't really run at very many Mod Squad tracks right now. We do have Loudon, but beyond that, we don't have that much. I would expect more Northeast racing on short tracks like that than a race anywhere near Boston anytime soon. From NASCAR Fan 88 Official, 2 questions. 1, if a major Chevy team, for example Hendrick Motorsports, were to partner with a lower-tier Chevy team, which would it be? There's not too many lower-tier Chevrolet teams that would be willing to give up their spots. If it were to be anyone, my money would probably be on SS Greenlight Racing, because there's no way you're going to see Jeremy Clements and his operation try to become a satellite team of anyone else. They even build their own engines. They still have their own engine shop. They really pride themselves of being independent. So, they would be, even if it would benefit them, they would be too stubborn to do it, and I respect that, like Kawicki. They would be a lot like that in the sense of they wouldn't want to do that. But SS Greenlight, I could see potentially taking an opportunity like that. And, I guess if you threw enough money at Rick Ware, he might take the opportunity. But they've been run actually pretty good with the 17 car with J.J. Yaley this season. So if anybody is going to get closer to Rick Ware in the Xfinity Series, it would be Ford. And by the way, lower levels, the Truck Series, it doesn't necessarily matter because Ilmore engines, you can kind of just put together what you want. And run pretty good with it, even though the Fords haven't been running too good this year. That's been a bit of an anomaly. Some of the blame's going on the new F-150 body. And on top of that, ARCA teams run the Ilmore 396, so I wouldn't much see any swapping in the lower divisions. And question number 2, is KBM changing their 2020 lineup in trucks? What development driver would they bring in? So right now their lineup in 2021 is John Hunter Nemechek full-time, Ty Gibbs full-time, and Chandler Smith full-time. Right now, I don't see anyone moving. Maybe, Kyle Busch is a very, how do you word this, quick-thinking business owner. Quick to fire, I guess I should say. Not willing to let their drivers develop. So Chandler Smith would probably be the first one out over at KBM. I would expect them to try and bring Corey Heim in after that. TRD has very bad tendencies when it comes to trying to raise drivers. You put him in a truck for 1 year, give him no time to develop, say, oh, he ain't driving as good as Kyle Busch. Well, of course he wouldn't. Then you fire him after one season. Don't really do you any good. Just waste you more money. Then you do it for the next 7 years with different people, and it's just not working. Tony Stewart's frustrated about Ford's development program. Start talking to Toyota. But that's the way I feel about it. I don't think KBM's going to change their lineup unless they have to. Ty Gibbs running good. They already got the win at Talladega. John Hunter Nemechek is inching closer and closer to a playoff spot. If anyone's going to be leaving, it would be Chandler Smith, probably due to one of those quick-thinking business decisions. From Switchblade as well, is there any update about Kurt Busch's future in NASCAR beyond next season amid rumors about retirement? So Kurt Busch is trying to get at least an extension with Chip Ganassi to run 1 year with the next-gen car. That is at least his goal. He is very curious what that car is going to be like. And as a long-term driver, a veteran of our sport, he's been running since 2000. I guess he wants to have an idea of what the next generation of NASCAR Cup Series competition feels like. Maybe some part-time starts if he decides to hang it up early. But going off of last year, when he almost won the championship, he's going to at least try to rough it out for a couple more seasons, even if it doesn't work out, because he got way too close last year to try and give up now. At least that's my opinion. From our reporter order of tier, are there any NASCAR drivers, either current or former, who would be competitors in the SRX? So we all know that Bobby Labonte, Bill Elliott, Tony Stewart himself, Michael Waltrip, they're going to be competing in the SRX this year. They have their Balboa car, which will be fielding regular short track runners up against those Cup Series competitors and former retired drivers, which is really cool. But also they have their all-star car, which could be driven by potentially, say, a Kyle Busch, a Chase Elliott, somebody like that from NASCAR's top levels. Granted, it could be just like Joseph Newgarden or somebody from, IndyCar or some other league. However, considering it's a short-track league, in particular a dirt and asphalt short-track racing league, their all-star car would either be somebody like, say, a Kyle Busch, who wants to win in everything, or for the dirt races, it could be, hey, Donnie Schatz. Who really knows right now? And a follow-up question, is there any possibility to see SRX races on Speed Station? We're in talks about it. I'm very interested in the whole idea of the series, running at racetracks that are by far some of the best in the country. As much as I like speedway racing and stuff like that, you wouldn't have speedways without short track racing. I think Cart learned this lesson the hard way, is that you can't have the top level without the ground level. You can't have a tower without a foundation. So I think that the SRX is doing a really good job at bringing some spotlight to the racetracks that really need it. Because, NASCAR, IndyCar, places like that, they need to remember that if they try to bankrupt short tracks, 20 years later they bankrupt themselves. So they need to watch out, because you can't have drivers in the top levels without development. And now the next question from Todoroki. Any retirements looming? Many rumors about Newman and Kurt Busch retiring. So given the fact that Newman's an engineer, I would expect him to maybe run a couple, at least, tests of this next-gen car. And Kurt Busch's mere curiosity will likely keep him in the next-gen car for at least next season and the drive to win a championship. Ryan Newman hasn't been running too good over the last 2 years, ever since he won that Brickyard 400 in 2019, his second of his career. Newman's retirement would make a lot of sense. He hasn't re-signed with Jack Roush. He's been in talks with Brad Means about team ownership and stuff like that. But Newman, being the engineer that he is, college-educated, I would expect him to maybe run at least a race in the next-gen car, just out of mere curiosity. From Steve Jobs. Could we see Dale Jr. field a Cup car for maybe one race this season for JRM to prepare for a full-time season in the future? So that's been a big-time rumor lately with the whole next-gen car coming in. Dale Earnhardt Jr. recently said in an interview that he would be willing to run NASCAR Cup Series cars full-time next year. He used to adamantly deny it, that he was ever going to build a Cup Series team. They were satisfied with Xfinity, is what he used to say. Now they're severely looking into this, really getting into the nitty-gritty, looking forward to potentially trying this out for next year. Only one issue. With the current rules about how many cars you can run, Rick Hendrick is co-owner of JRM. You can't run 5 cars if you're a co-owner. If you're a co-owner of a Cup car, you're still counted as an owner. If Dale Earnhardt Jr. wanted to run a car in a Cup Series race, that would be considered a 5th car from Rick Hendrick still. So the real challenge, I would say, for Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting into Cup would be to figure out how to sever his ties with Rick Hendrick. As bad as that may sound, I still think it's possible for Jr. because he's Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's going to get funding. You can't tell me he's not. Most of his sponsors are with him instead of Rick. But getting the team developed without Hendrick engines and going kind of out on their own would be something else, but he could still easily get the funding. In fact, who knows, we could see maybe a reunion, because JRM, if they burn a bridge with Rick Hendrick, could start asking Richard Childress. And so that would make for a pretty interesting story now, wouldn't it? But if Dale Earnhardt Jr. wants to field a full-time Cup program, I would expect it to happen without Rick Hendrick's aid. And I do not expect them to run any races this year in preparation mainly due to the Gen 6 car. But technically, Dale Earnhardt Jr. could enter a car just under his name, not under Junior Motorsports, but under Dale Earnhardt Jr. Run one car that he might have in his junkyard, something like that, because final season of the Gen 6 car, teams starting to sell off their cars. He might be able to pull off one race, but it wouldn't be under the JRM banner necessarily, and it wouldn't be with Rick Hendrick's equipment. It would have to be with a partnership with somebody else where Junior is the sole car owner. That would be the only way that they could pull that off. But I could see it happening, and Junior is very much interested in being a Cup Series owner. And it's the dream of any NASCAR owner anyway, to try and become a Cup Series owner. Final question from Switchblade. Following an incident-filled field at Talladega in both trucks and Cup that included some scary wrecks, has NASCAR reconsidered the current plate package at all by letting the field spread out more to avoid that in the future? There is a lot of talks of at least changing the Cup Series package for next season. In particular, next-gen car, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for changes. There's talks about maybe trying to get the field to spread out a little bit more, even knowing fans didn't like this. Tandem drafting has been in talks because the fans might not have liked it. I don't really know why. I personally enjoyed it as a fan. I've been watching for a while, let's just say that, and I enjoyed that racing back then. But you have more control over your destiny when you're tandem racing. The field was still able to spread out a little bit, more like it was pre-restrictor plate, more like it was kind of in the mid-'80s, not by the late 80s, right before they got rid of the plate, because then it just kind of turned into almost IndyCar racing, because they were still running in groups of like 10, but they were going 2-10. It was getting too dangerous, that's why they put the plates on. But aero package differences are probably going to be showing up for at least the Cup cars next year, trying to get the cars to spread out a little bit more, not by giving them more horsepower. That's not what NASCAR wants to do. They do potentially want to make them able to tandem draft again, though, because that gave you control over your destiny of where you were going to go, at least more than the current Cup Series package does, because when you're running a pack, when you're going 4 wide for 8 rows, one guy makes one mistake, you wipe out 20 cars. When you're by yourself with one other car, you kind of have a shot at missing a wreck if somebody spins up in front of you. So that's the whole idea that NASCAR is getting at right now with potentially bringing back tandem drafting. And so, folks, that does it for episode number 5 of Post Tech. We hope you all enjoyed it. The next time you'll be seeing us will be for the full broadcast of the Toyota Save Mart 350 from Sonoma Raceway. The NASCAR Cup Series race stuff will be fixed at Sonoma Raceway before we get back there. SMI right now is working on the wall on the front straightaway, making sure a wreck like what happened to Brendan Poole will not happen again. And a few other tire wall moving situations going on right now, like in turns 1 and 2. They're making it to where the entry into the wall is not so abrupt, making sure that Christopher Bell's wreck isn't such a violent one next time, because you remember he hit the wall almost straight. Even though he was not injured from that, it's a bit of a safety concern if he hit it going at a faster rate of speed, say your brakes fail or something like that. But the next time you'll be seeing us on Post Tech will be for the recap of the Camping World Truck Series race from Las Vegas Motor Speedway All-Star Week. And so from all of us here at the Speed Station, we will be seeing you in Sonoma Raceway for all the action out in California.